Welcome everyone back to Pommy and Oz. Hope we're all doing really well. For you around here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. It really helps the channel. Can't thank you enough for the support. And we're here today to talk about Carlton's loss that became a win against St Kilda, round 24. So stick with me and let's get right into it. If you are new around here though, hit that like and subscribe. You can become a member of the channel. A few of you have done that. Thank you very much for that. We've got a load of content coming for you in the couple of weeks off that we have. So can't wait to do that with you. And Carlton went down 76-74 to St Kilda in what was a must-win game for us to control the destiny, as it were. And the Blues didn't get that done. And that has to be said. And I was a little bit upset last night, quite understandably. I was kind of baffled that no one else was upset because I feel like this was a game of inches which we could have won. And I feel like this game came really down to them, like little 1%ers, and we'll talk about that with some video footage later, but it was the execution of the basics. Now, the injuries, let's get that out of the way with. Yes, they are massively injured. There is a lot of good players out, but my issue is great sides find ways to win, and the Blues had opportunities to win this. They really did, and it's maximising that capability of when you're in game, and this even goes for Carlton for the last 3 years for me. They can get themselves into games. It's why we love Vossi. We are now a real hard side to beat. The next layer for me is capitalising them opportunities as they exist. And that is when you go to the next level. That is when, for me, you become a champion team. When you can maximise the opportunities as they present themselves. And what I mean by this is even in the first quarter, them shots that go, the Blues could have put that scoreboard pressure on. They went into that quarter down. And for me, when you can take them opportunities, when the game is going against you or it's a little bit hard, that is the most important pressure. For me, scoreboard pressure and execution is the most imperative pressure that you can have. And little things, players being lost at stoppage, it cost us a goal, which we'll cover a bit later on. But that has been a real focus this year on the Blues, that teams can lose us in the stoppage. They kind of go missing. The Blues get drawn between, do I get sucked in to help my mates out, struggle to get the ball out, or do I stick on my man? And it becomes an outnumber. And especially under pressure, the Blues really do react to in-game situations. So I don't want to sound like I'm the angry dad, because at times I feel like I've gone from being Mr. Positivity to Mr. Grinch, and I don't mean to be. I always find this, and I say this to my kids, that because I'm tough in certain areas and hard on application or the process in which you do something, that's because I have faith that you can achieve wonderful things. Time to worry for me is when I am doing a review, 2-point loss, and going, it's fucking all right. Boys had a dip, didn't they? For me, it's when it's something that's fixable that isn't personnel, because I've seen enough of Doc, TDK, Boyd to see that they all have their moments of what we're talking about today. And that is just a cultural thing. That is an application thing that probably comes with experience, but my argument is they are experienced. They've been here long enough and done it. So very important that we nail this, because I think that's what holds us to where we were 6 weeks ago. It was only round 19. We were second as we came into round 20 after round 19. Second, you need them execution of the basics for a whole sustained season. You need to make sure the basics. I'm a big advocate in my time as a golf coach that rudimentary fundamentals, when you nail them, that's when we can have sexy times with other things. You've got to make sure that you are ruthless in your pursuit of excellence at the fundamental basis. And that is what I was angry about. So we can see what I mean as we get into the data. So let's do that. So we start off then with the stoppage scores, and the Blues really impressed over the last couple of weeks that they've really managed to increase this output. Plus 1.8. It's starting to get a little bit better from here. We're starting to see us start to turn this one around. This needs to be in the mid-40s for me. And the Blues are starting to combat that way as we get it. It's a very interesting one here, because I do think this is an area here where TDK does help us out. Just the way that he becomes an extra midfielder. It does at times feel like Carlton are a midfielder short, which absolutely kills me when I do watch these games. So it's a real fascinating little carte blanche that Carlton just seemed to find the extras in and around stoppage. And it is so frustrating when you watch the Blues around stoppage that they have them avenues to get it out. At times it becomes a little bit stodgy. And this is my criticism this week, that I thought they negated the stoppage scores pretty well. Do you know what I mean? Really, really well. But they just couldn't quite capitalise at the right moments for me. Defensively, it really did fall off under pressure, but holding them down to a -2 is pretty impressive, because this was an area that we talked about that St Kilda had really improved over the last couple of weeks. So fair play to the Blues here. Cooper Lord particularly was sensational here. The way that he shepherds for his team to stop that extra, the way he sticks to his man, which is imperative. I would say Cooper Lord, out of all the midfielders this week, gets an A star for tracking his man and not getting him lost in the stoppage. So real positive here that with TDK coming back, that instantly makes the scores probably 8 to 12 better, just because of how he applies himself. So this for me is a little bit of hope that Carlton can really nail this down, because this has got to be A grade against Brisbane. Up next, the turnover. And this was really impressive how the Blues defended it. And the reason that they defended this is kind of one of its negatives. It was the fact that we really did flood that corridor. We took away the space. Now, the issue when this happens is you find Carlton struggle to score from turnover as prolifically as they do, particularly from the forward half, because we commit men to negate this. Now, this makes sense because, and this is where I'm going to reward Voss, the defensive half scores were so alarming pre-game from St Kilda. So alarming. So it makes sense to commit maybe less men in the forward half of the ground and play them in the more of a deeper role. So that did work. I did feel, though, at times the Blues had opportunities to really blow this out. 40 points for me, I would say, is under par. It is under par for us, but I felt like we could have been a little bit more direct. There wasn't as much committing to run, and this is where the basics come in again. That ability of backing your man to win the ball, to win from that turnover, to make that handball. At times the Blues got a little bit flat-footed and a little bit consensual, a little bit nervy and a little bit more flat-footed, a little bit more making it a little bit easy just in case you do risk turning over the turnover. So this is an area here that definitely some of the players coming back will help with, particularly when you look in the forward half of the ground. I think that helps having that target there, that outlet ball, particularly down the wing. That, and I think when we kicked to Harry and TDK, we naturally backed them to win the ball. We were quite reactive at times when we did turn it over and we looked to keep that width. And Jackson Binns, Ollie Hollands, again, miraculous at keeping their width. They were phenomenal at doing that, which really did help Carlton turnover defence be negative 14.8 for the Saints. Really defended well. That's because they keep their width. They really do. So that held me in good hope that Binns and the Hollands, when you add a proper marking target down the wing, really makes it better. The defensive half, the Blues, this has really stagnated in the last couple of weeks. It is nice to see some positive figures there from the Blues. +4 for the Blues, down by 20. This was a key battleground, we said in the preview. The Blues had to be strong at this avenue. If they weren't, they were going to be in trouble. They were really strong at negating the back half movement from there and making them go wide to where they had the numbers. They stopped the corridor move by, we say, taking a few players out, making that a bit more condensed. It did affect Carlton's ball movement, but structurally that was quite a good, intelligent little facet, because this could have been a damn sight worse. This could have been a damn sight worse, and the Blues did well there. Forward half, +11.2. Now, we talked about this pre-game. 48 for St Kilda, 29 for the Blues. We've got to be wary of forward half pressure, because teams are putting forward half pressure on us, knowing that our backline, particularly without their marking targets up the wing, when we go for the safe percentage play, are quite bad. They really did execute this really well, and I felt like because the Blues had taken players out of the forward line to negate that defensive half movement, as we talked about, it explains why Carlton were down 16. And this was an area here where I don't want to blame players, but I'll single a couple out. We needed at this stage here, Durden not to have a dicky shoulder so he could put the pressure on, and Motlop really needed to be a pressure beast in that forward 50, and it didn't quite work. Durden did incredibly well with it, trying to do it. You could see he was really nursing that shoulder, though, and I did feel for him. Very interesting little avenue here, because someone needs to do this role. We're not going to have Fogarty for the whole year. So this is going to be a real important one when Carlton do make that shift to close off the corridor, which is a smart tactical play. Has to be done. Has to be done here. TDK helps with that because when he stays centrally, he does naturally intercept and gravitas the ball to bring it down to ground. So the Blues have got to really look at this area. Someone like Fantasia, is it Motlop? Can we get Durden right? I think that shoulder's completely cooked, and I don't think he should be playing because I think it is, as much as his game, it's not good for him. So someone's got to make this role. Cooper Lord, interestingly, when he slid forward, did incredibly, incredibly well at just negating that avenue. So very strong from him. The centre bounce, this is refreshing to see. Carlton really did attack the goal side this week, and that is a huge positive. We highlighted that in the video footage last week. What that does is it makes teams kick long. It makes teams struggle. So this was a real positive for me. One of the positives I'm taking out of this game is that if you add TDK into this could be even more, because at times, some of the score launches we saw from Pernat were long kicks into a small forward line. TDK running that somewhere between how we're playing now with the smaller forward line and how we play with the bigs is the happy medium. So that does make me very excited there that the Blues really did negate that. The pressure acts was a high pressure game. The ball movement was really down. Teams were trying to feed each other out, and a credit to both teams that we talked about it. Someone's got to shorten their meters gained in this game to try and control the intense pressure that they will feel, but also to try and get some midfield ascendancy. This was almost neck and neck, 303 to 304. Both teams, I thought, pressured well and hurried, but excellent from the Blues. I thought the young bucks particularly really did, particularly the midfield, they really did tackle hard. And the Blues, if there is any positive in here, that midfield had some synergy. It lacked a bit of je ne sais quoi, which I do feel TDK, should he be fit, instantly gives some je ne sais quoi to in that midfield. So I'm really positive about this going forward, that the Blues can find something, because this is definitely personnel-based. One of the positives over the last 4 weeks has been seeing Elijah Hollands in. Carlton have tried to pigeonhole Chera and Walsh, but seeing Walsh now getting a more outside role, as we've all been calling for, I think is really positive. Cooper Lord is that point of difference. He's quick, he's nippy. So this kind of excites me to see TDK work with Cooper Lord. I feel like that's got some diligence going forward, particularly with the natural whiff now. Ollie Hollands, with Binns working in front of Ollie Hollands, and Akers playing that more advanced role and becoming that more target mark. Suddenly Carlton have got something there. The tackles inside 50 really strong. The midfield had to do this. A lot of inside 50s coming from the midfielders this week. Part of the reason is because Carlton had to pull players back to close that corridor. But fair play to them, they had to make this. I think this could have been more, though. There was a few missed tackles, and I'm looking at the small forwards here. This game definitely would have been one if you had Fogarty in it. Someone of that ilk who can stay forward and tackle. Someone's got to do it, though. For Blues to progress in this, if I'm going to believe what everyone's saying, the season resets, this is a key battleground for the Blues moving forward. This pressure here, particularly stifling back half movement, is so integral, and the forward half. And you can see the territory, Carlton defending the territory like troopers recently. It is a very negative way we do it, though, flooding that corridor, because it does take away from our adventurousness in the forward half. Hopefully when we have Mackay and Charlie back, that makes it a little bit easier for us to sustain that, because I do like the fact Carlton are going shorter with their kicks. It masks a lot of the problems. The Mats inside 50 rate, not so bad considering that Carlton had small players there. So being down 5% when you have lost all your toes, fairly positive there for them. And Carlton's backline did do well as stopping them deep entries we talked about. It was the bringing it to ground and the ground ball gets that we do worry about. You saw here, down by 2 from goals per inside 50. The Blues, though, staying about where they are, just showing that Carlton have been very wasteful when they have their tolls. This stat really is telling you, with their tolls, this should be a lot higher. We need this in the 30s because it's a very healthy where it is. And the scores per inside 50, this shows them second and third efforts from the forwards weren't quite there. This was really a kick in and hope something works. And the rebound 50 rate, as you'd expect, the Blues really strong. 73%, playing 90%. Very strong from the Blues, just defensively getting the ball out. The issue was, again, we didn't have them targets on the wing, so when we did get it out, it just brought pressure on. And that is an area here that TDK will obviously fix. Intercept marks, though, the Blues being very strong, plus 3.4 intercept marks, plus 5 for them. Very wasteful with them shallow entries, and I was screaming at the telly and on the watch-along, Carlton have got to find a way of changing the angles, which St Kilda did incredibly well. And what I mean by that is having a mark out, 55 out, that allows you to penetrate long. When the tolls come back in, that is even more imperative because it allows them to lead. The leading lanes this week, I thought it was weird that Kennedy was deployed more in the midfield. He was one who was sacrificed to try and stop that defensive half movement from St Kilda. Mind-boggling because his leading last week would have probably been key in this game. Obviously, Charlie and Harry are going to go back this week. This is important, and you can see the one-on-one loss. Remember, the negative numbers are good here. It was a lot better for St Kilda. The Blues really did struggle, and this is because of that isolation we talked about. When you do commit people to come bends, if you are bold and you look for that switch kick, particularly that diagonal, it opens it up. And this is what I mean by them intercept marks against. The Blues need to find that because it opens it up and it swings the zones towards the ball, which then gives you some one-on-ones. And that's what they did very well. A lot of times we saw them enter 50 and then switch it across our goal face, which did really make Carlton struggle. The contested possessions, finally we saw this negative because the Blues did look to spread. St Kilda were incredibly good at spreading, and we talked about that at the start of the preview last week, and this was really king. I was really impressed with Binns and Holland, how they kept their width and they stayed out of trouble, allowing Carlton's contested to be moved out of the trouble zones. And you can see here, metres gained, as we predicted, Carlton down by 2. So, all in all there, this game here was, for me, was disappointing because the Blues had them opportunities. And like you can see with the stats, it's coming down to that execution. It's coming down to that raw basics. So, let's have a look and see what I mean by that. So, we'll look at this first footage about how Carlton lose people when we are in the crux. So what I want us to do is just look at this final play, and it's a real interesting little predicament that the Blues had here, I thought. So what I wanted to show you here is as the Blues get to here, they're going to just do the natural thing. So they're looking to exit short with a minute to go. They're looking to exit with a minute to go. And you can see here, they get the nice little short up, hit up lead. Now, when we pause it here, what are the Blues going to do? A lot of people are saying that you could go short to Wheater and stuff. This is a dangerous play when you're so close to literally the end of the game. Like, it's a short play. Because if Wheater makes a mistake, you are turning the ball over, 20 metres in front of goal, which is a natural goal. So the Blues do the natural thing as we speed it up, and we go along, right? So this is what the Blues are always trying to do. They're looking at this point here to just basically recycle the possession, keep a stoppage, bring the ball to ground, make it hard, and maybe advance with territory very slowly. And you can see here that the Blues get outnumbered. Pitternet makes a meal of that contest, but Cripps does incredibly well to keep the stoppage. Now, when we get to the stoppage, right, I want to show you here. I just want you to notice a few things about the stoppage. So, how teams have really been negating the Blues, right, in these stoppages is trying to lose each other, right, and someone arrives late. So as you can see here, we've got this here, but you can see here that Jones versus Hewitt, Jones's job here is to try and drag Hewitt away from this area because we know he's so strong. Ollie's here, you can see with Brad Hill, right? You can see Kennedy's coming in late and someone will be arriving here. But you can see here what they're trying to do is use someone like Burns or, in this situation here, Jack Sinclair. They're going to try and arrive late at this stoppage. And you can see, look, straight away, Philip O makes that dummy run. And you can see Carlton here have done really well. Everyone has stayed. No one has fallen for that dummy run. Philip O here is out here. Blake Acres has stayed on him. Bang. Stoppage made, right? Stoppage made, right? So then, if we go a bit forward to this one here, right? I want you to just watch the same type of stoppage where Carlton lose it. So what's going to happen here, right, is Jones is going to put this body on here, and you can see Hill's making that run. But I want you to watch out here because Burns is going to come here. And what he's going to do is he's going to fight for space as Carlton react. So you can see Ollie done incredibly well. Look, right, he's tried to lose him in the stoppage, right? But Burns here has got away from Motlop, right? And you're going to watch here now, the next move here. I want you to just watch Jones here with him. Look, he's taken Hewitt away from that fall, which now, look, he's got stoppage side, right? Cripper has to react. So Cripper now has lost Steele as well. But watch Burns here. He's straight through, right? And this ball is going to come in, right? So this ball is going to come in. So Blues have lost the battle here, right? Which is understandable, right? But they've lost the battle. Burns has got one up. And he derives this ball. Now, I want you to watch just Sard is back here, right? So you've got Cowan and Cole like that, right? So you've got to see there, look, Cowan's got held there. Sard, you can see here, he is on Higgins, right? So watch Higgins here. They've gone up to the contest, right? I want you to watch Higgins. Look, straight away he's reacted. Sard now has lost him. Sard has lost him in that stoppage, that contest. The great players lose you, right? And what this creates here is Hewitt's lost Jones in that stoppage. He's got back to the fall of the ball. And suddenly, look, it happens. And it's simple things being disciplined. Now, I'm not panning Sard here. It happens. But the problem is as Sard has had Higgins has managed to lose him in that stoppage, right? And the gap has got way too big. Because Jones was at that original stoppage, he has managed to get to the stoppage first, which means then Hewitt is going to have to take him. And the Blues, it's happened too quick that no one can reset the zone. You are man-on-man in a zone until you're not. And this is the little simple areas here because it's just created that corridor of uncertainty. Higgins has created that gap from stoppage for just long enough to really kill the game. So it's these little basics that the Blues are going to have to do because next week you've got Dane Zorko, you've got players like that who are incredibly talented at that. So all in all, it's a very disappointing season. I want to make that known. 2nd to 8th, even with the injuries, when the Blues have had opportunities to win games. And it's been basic stuff like this, which is really country-level football stuff we've got to get smarter at. But some of the boys are going to come in next week, and we've got to get around them and get behind them. So go Blues, enjoy your trip to Brisbane, fight hard. We're going to be following you. You deserve to be in the 8. The ladder don't lie. So go out there, play hard, structure up, and that is it. It's them execution of the basics, them killing the shot in front, like with Brody Kemp, gutted for him, but they need to be finished. Taking your moment and all the opportunity. Go Blues, peace, love, and light. Thank you very much for the support. Pom out.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's having